The day is here, everyone. May 25th, 2022. What we've all been waiting for. Is Josh Duggar going to get 20 years? What's happening with the situation? We have all the details for you now. Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesday, May 25th, the day that many of us have been waiting for in regards to Josh Duggar's trial or case. So today has been pretty busy. There's not a ton of information to give you out just yet, but I wanted to do an update just to give you the latest of what's been happening this morning and give you some insight on where we're going and what we can expect leading up to the judge ruling So yesterday we find out that the judge rules against a new trial, and he also ruled against a acquittal. There was simply just not enough evidence, and Josh's arguments lacked merit, the judge said, and therefore there was really no other person that did this but Josh. So at this point in time, sentencing moves forward, and it started out very early this morning with Josh's team arriving at court. They arrived with Anna Duggar and a friend, and then Jim Bob Duggar showed up, as well as Hannah's brother, David, and his wife, Hannah. And then if you're wondering if any of the siblings arrived in court, yes, Joanna arrived, Jason, and James. Now, according to the Sun in court, Jason, James, and Joy did not sit on the defense's side. They actually sat in the very last row of the prosecution side of the court. So Anna arrived. She had a blue dress on, showing her knees, wearing nude heels, and Jim Bob looked average. So apparently, if you were wondering, was Josh like in his jumpsuit? No. For the hearing, he arrived in a gray suit, according to the Sun, and he was apparently in very good spirits. So the Sun reported on their live feed that he was wearing a gray suit and that he smiled at Anna and he talked to his lawyers, and then apparently there was a letter that there was in front of his table that he was reading. It's unclear at this point if Josh plans to make a statement in court. So the most of this morning was spent with the judge and the judge and the lawyers sort of going over the different objections that Josh's team had related to the sentencing score. So if you remember, they said that his score was a 42, which would have put him at a max sentence of 360 months to life. And then because of one of the charges being dismissed, they would have a maximum of 240 months. So there was some back and forth this morning and some questions on what enhancements would be placed in there. And the judge also talked about the impact statements and the letters that Josh's friends and family wrote to the court. Apparently, the judge really liked Anna and Michelle's letters. He found them to be nice, and he considered those when he was thinking about what a proper sentence would be. And he also referenced the letter that was written by the little girl's mom, who was in the images found on Josh's computer, and he found that to be heartbreaking. So after he discussed that, he went ahead and dismissed the possession charge, which we expected he would do. But interesting to note, the possession charge can be re-added or recharged at a time in the future if necessary. Now, if you're wondering, what were they fighting about in court related to the enhancements? A few things. So we knew that Josh didn't want them to include the prior conduct with what Josh did to his sisters. And ultimately, after back and forth between the attorneys and the judge, he ruled that the prior acts would be included, meaning that he would get the full enhancement, which was 5 levels. Okay, so if you're wondering if he's going to get the enhancement for distribution, if you remember in court, he had argued in his documents that he did not knowingly distribute, and the judge agreed with him. So the distribution enhancement, which was 2 levels, will not be added. And there was in regards to the type of content found on his computer, Josh argued that there was no content that would place him in the worst category, and the judge disagreed. So what they found on his computer was the worst of the worst, and he got the highest level enhancement for that. So the 4-level enhancement for that kind of images was included in his score, and then the 5-level enhancement for the pattern of behavior for what he did to his sisters was also included in the score. Another issue at hand were the total number of images on the computer, and according to the objections filed by Josh's team, they believed he had 127 total images, where the defense or the prosecutor said he had around 725. The judge decided that when he looked at everything, he said the court could easily get to 525 total images, and then he settled on a total of 590 total images. He acknowledged that there could be more than 600, but for sentencing purposes, he was going to limit the enhancement to 4 levels. So instead of being at a 5, it will be down at a 4. Now, another aspect that Josh did not want included in the sentencing for him to be considered for his moral character is the judge overruled that they would discuss or look at anything related to his infidelity and the Ashley Madison conduct, because apparently cheating has nothing to do with this. The prosecutors wanted this included in the consideration because they felt like it was speaking to his moral character, where that he was telling everyone he was a family man and he was like super moral, and that he wasn't, because he had cheated on his wife. If you remember, they fought with them beforehand, before the trial, about the same issue, and the defense. Josh's admission publicly to having a problem with online content, the judge said he would consider that simply because it will help them determine what kind of programs to offer him when he is sentenced. So it's not illegal for him to look at adult images like that online, but if he has a problem with it, they can offer him treatment while he's in the federal camp. And then they also discussed a couple other objections. Like, one thing was the probation officer wanted there to be something about a restriction with minors. So Josh couldn't have any access to kids, and that was recommended by the probation office, and he decided he wasn't going to wait to rule on that later. There was a bunch of things that he decided he was going to leave later. Josh also withdrew some objections related to some financial questions, some fees that would be per count, because there's no restitution. So they withdrew that as well, and they withdrew several others. So what does this mean for Josh's overall score? Based on what I've been able to sort of ascertain from the various websites, this would bring him down to likely a 37, because the judge ruled it would be a 4 instead of a 5-level enhancement. And 37 would have him anywhere between 210 to 262 months. So he could very well end up with a 20-year sentence. We'll just have to wait and see to see what the judge decides and if 37 is the right number. But he didn't get as much knockdown as he wanted, and he's nowhere near the 5 years that he's asking for. Now, the guidelines are literally just guidelines at this point, so the judge can go upward or downward of these guidelines. And if you remember, Josh's team asked for a downward departure, and they only want 5 years. And because of that, they had the widow, Denise, she wrote a letter, and apparently that letter was read in court because Denise was crying, and Anna was crying, because apparently Josh and Anna have been financially supporting Denise Wilson. If you remember, Denise is the widow of Clark Wilson. Clark was the friend of the Duggars that actually helped build their house, and he was also part of the church when everything came out related to Josh. So when Josh had to meet with all of the elders and he had to meet with all of the leaders, Clark was a part of that church. And so his helping out Denise, I feel like, is self-serving, because I'm guessing Clark and Denise may have supported him and encouraged them to stay on the show, or, maybe helped his parents not tell the truth. I don't know. But Denise was upset, and apparently Anna had called her and told her that she would no longer be able to support her. And because of that, she was devastated. So apparently Denise's letter also included this. Josh acted as if it was a natural thing to do. He told me, "We're just doing what the Bible says. To have a pure religion is to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction." My most recent time in Arkansas, I needed something checked on my car before traveling home, so I stopped by the shop. Josh was incredibly busy, but he came out anyway and fixed what was needed without charging me. I saw Josh I saw Josh as a loving husband to Anna, respecting her and serving her. I saw his devotion to his children by paying attention to their needs and encouraging them to live right. She also called him humble, accountable, and with a servant's heart. Recently, Anna called crying, saying that they were not able to do this now because of their situation, despite how much they wanted to continue to support me. Josh told me he and Anna were going to support me and my family monthly to keep up my finances. When he told me how much it would be, I was shocked. It was a gracious amount. Josh had offered to support her, but again, I don't know if this isn't with strings attached, because Denise is Clark's wife, and Clark also knew about what Josh had done, and perhaps Clark helped with Josh. I don't know. He was also one of Josh's mentors. He passed away from, I think, a form of cancer several years ago. Sorry, Jill Duggar is also not in court. Amy Duggar King posted a article with The Sun where she talked about how she would hope that the judge would give him the highest level sentence, and that she called all of these character witness letters that he was receiving false. Now, because the defense has the ability to pick and choose who provides letters to the court, people that would want to provide letters that might not be favorable to Josh are not allowed to send these letters in. So Amy could not provide a letter to the judge compelling him to not believe these letters and to say, this is not Josh, this is a lie, this is false. Instead, they're allowed to paint a picture of Josh as this benevolent man doing great things. And the judge was moved by some of the things that Michelle and Anna said, and he found them helpful, and he's taking them into consideration. So I don't know what this means. Josh might not get sentenced to 20 years in prison. I'm going to be so sad if that happens, but we have to prepare that it could be less. For now, this is what I have. Keep updated on my Instagram account at Without a Crystal Ball 2. Still having a hard time getting back into my regular Instagram. And also, please do me a humongous favor, like this video, leave me some comments, as well as, if you could, subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and stay tuned for more updates as we go throughout the day. Bye, guys.